Number 10. Lasher. Lasher was created when a company called the Life Foundation forcibly extracted 5 offspring from Venom. You see, during the Cold War, the Life Foundation believed that a nuclear holocaust was coming and wanted to create a superpowered police force to protect this new world or, utopia that they were creating. That's when they decided that a symbiote police force would probably be the best option. One of those 5 symbiotes was Lasher. Lasher merged with Ramon Hernandez and is known for his green color and the tentacles on his back, which, was his primary attack, and for the most part, it was very effective. Number 9. Phage. Also one of the ones created because of the Life Foundation, Phage bonded with Karl Mack. Phage is known for his orange and black appearance and being able to mold his body into sharp blades, similar, to Carnage, which was effective against his opponents. He's also one of the larger symbiotes. He has a build that is very similar to Venom, which along with those blades would make, a really deadly combo. Number 8. Agony. Agony, also a Life Foundation creation, bonded with Leslie Jasnira. Agony was unique in that she was able to spit acid that could burn through almost anything. Agony also had the power to absorb and regurgitate chemicals. Oh god. That's so gross. She also had a very different look than her siblings. She was bright purple with hints of black and had wavy hair. Of course, she also had sharp teeth and massive claws.
Number 6. Dr. Savannah. If you've seen the film Shazam, you likely are familiar with Dr. Savannah, or if you're aware of the Captain Marvel / Shazam comics. He was one of the first villains that Shazam actually came up against and made his comic book debut in Wiz Comics issue number 2. His first master plot of villainy? To ransom radio waves. The 1940s, what a time. He asked for $50 million and if he wasn't paid, threatened to create radio silence everywhere. Because this was the 40s, of course, that was a really big deal. Although right now we'd probably be like, who listens to the radio? But also $50 million is an insane amount of money to ask for. I feel like if Dr. Savannah hadn't been so greedy, it might have worked out better for him. Because $50 million in the 1940s? Jeez! In the end, Billy Batson and his Captain Marvel form defeated Savannah by smashing his radio silencer tech, which was like this huge machine by the way, to smithereens. But as promised, the Doctor would return to battle Captain Marvel, or as he's known now, Shazam, again, becoming one of his mainstay villains. Number 5. Joe Chill. While we didn't know who he was at the time, Joe Chill would go on to become a huge supervillain in Batman's life. He would be known to Bruce Wayne as the man responsible for the death of Batman's parents. Well, responsible. More, he was known as the perpetrator. The circumstances surrounding the murder of Martha and Thomas Wayne in regards to it being part of a great plot or just a random mugging gone wrong would continue to be explored even after we found out Joe Chill's name. Either way, Joe Chill has been a huge villain in Batman's life anyways, because he took away Bruce Wayne's parents, which is kinda Batman's whole thing. Number 4. The Monk. The Monk first appeared in Detective Comics issue number 31, shortly after Batman's first appearance a few issues previously. He is often dressed in red robes, but his first appearance also featured him wearing a red cloth bag with eye holes on his head, marked with a skull and crossbones. So stylish. This was way back when Bruce Wayne also had a fiancée named Julie. The Monk ends up hypnotizing and kidnapping Julie. Batman, however, ends up chasing him down and facing a castle filled with booby traps in order to save his fiancée, who does not know apparently that her betrothed Bruce is actually the Bat. The issue ends with Batman swearing vengeance, soaring off to Hungary to find the Monk and his werewolves? I just love that part because I'm always like, wait, what do you mean you're going after his werewolves? He has werewolves? What? Did we find that out in that issue? I don't remember that being mentioned, but maybe I forgot.
Number 3. Toxin. Toxin is one of the newer ones on this list, but of course that doesn't mean he's actually really new. Toxin debuted all the way back in 2004. Now, since all symbiotes create their offspring alone, they don't actually need to mate with one another. This eventually ends up happening to Carnage. Now, Carnage was naturally worried because each offspring is said to be stronger than their predecessor. Because of that, Carnage was ready to kill it as soon as it was born. Good old Carnage. When Toxin was born, Carnage just couldn't kill it. He did try, but Toxin was just already too powerful, and it ended up bonding with Patrick Mulligan, an NYPD officer. Toxin is also red and has a slim spider-like appearance when he was bonded with Patrick, but later on he ended up bonding with Eddie Brock and grew to be a lot bigger and way scarier. He also has an amazing healing factor and is more resistant to sound and heat than most other symbiotes. Number 2. Carnage. Carnage is the first child of Venom. Carnage is all red and is one of the most powerful and terrifying symbiotes around. Seriously, this guy is what nightmares are made of. And to make matters worse, he bonded with a serial killer, Cletus Cassidy, who we will finally see in live action for the very first time this year in Sony's Venom 2. I mean, fingers crossed it turns out well. I'm really hoping. Okay, but back to the comics. Carnage was created when Venom left behind his offspring in the prison where Eddie Brock was being held. This new symbiote offspring made its way to Eddie's cellmate, Cletus. Cletus then broke out of prison and began murdering a ton of people. No surprise there. Carnage also went on to become one of Spider-Man's greatest foes.
Number 10. Cosmic Ghost Rider. What happens when Frank Castle becomes a Ghost Rider just as planet Earth is dying and there is no one left to avenge? Well, you get the brilliant and insane Cosmic Ghost Rider. This version of Frank Castle ended up teaming up with Galactus originally in order to try and take on Thanos, who threatened the existence of all life at the time as he tried to win the heart of Mistress Death. In the end, no one was left to serve but Thanos, and Cosmic Ghost Rider was driven mad by loneliness and heartbreak and being unable to die, so he eventually ended up joining Thanos anyways. He is as powerful as he is insane at this point and is a frighteningly cheerful version of Frank Castle, especially considering all of the horrors he's witnessed, especially when he was serving Thanos. Did some pretty bad stuff. Number 9. Annihilus. Annihilus is a somewhat lost being who was created in the negative zone on a planet known as Athros. He evolved from life spores that were left there and ended up mutating and growing to be a highly intelligent insectoid-like life form. He has been an enemy and ally to the Fantastic Four, depending on the circumstances, and he also once almost took over Asgard, managing to take on the Asgardian soldiers and even beat Thor. Thankfully, Odin stopped him before he could succeed. Poor Annihilus, I feel like he's so lost in life. Really needs a stronger purpose. Number 8. Iowa the Mungazoth. Hope I'm saying that right. Known as the Lord of Darkness, Iowa the Mungazoth is called upon in an issue of Creatures on the Loose from the 70s. This cosmic eldritch god-like entity could also be tied to the many-angled ones, who occasionally crop up in the Marvelverse. But we don't have enough information to really know whether or not for sure if Iowa the Mungazoth is a separate entity or simply one that we've maybe already met but is operating under a different name, under some kind of alias. He is one of the gods referred to in the comic by the High Priest of the Dragon King, known as Sa. Sa, in the story, aims to make 3 human sacrifices in order to give the energy to the Lords of Chaos that they need so that they may travel across the cosmos to Earth. Sounds like a bad idea. Sounds like you probably don't want the Lords of Chaos to come by, but you know, to each their own. I guess if you're the High Priest of the Dragon King, you do. That's what you want. I'm not here to judge.
Number 7. Riot. Riot is, well you guessed it, another symbiote created because of the Life Foundation. Riot bonded with Trevor Cole, who was a mercenary. Riot took on a very similar appearance to Venom. His build, size, and color scheme were all very similar. He's also considered to be the most violent of the Life Foundation creations. Riot is also the only one of his siblings to make a live action appearance, so far. He was the main antagonist in the 2018 film Venom. Now, in the film, he didn't actually merge with Trevor Cole, instead he went with the head of the Life Foundation, Carlton Drake. Who knows? Maybe we'll see some of Riot's siblings in future films. Number 6. Scream. Can I get created because of Life Foundation for 500? Oh, thank you. Scream ended up bonding with human Donna Diego. Scream's color scheme is also very unique, at least for symbiotes. Scream is yellow and black. Also, it is believed that Scream is the strongest of the symbiotes that were extracted from Venom. The reason being is that even though, she was eventually defeated, she took out and killed the host of the other 4 symbiotes that were created by the Life Foundation. Scream also used her long, flowing hair as a weapon, whipping it and slicing her foes. Number 5. Hybrid. Have you ever wondered what would happen if 4 symbiotes merged together? Well, that is exactly what Hybrid is. Hybrid is Riot, Phage, Lasher, and Agony merged into one. All 4 of their hosts were killed by their sibling Scream. Hybrid merged with Scott Washington, who was a guardsman at the prison The Vault, where all 4 of them were actually being held. Now, Scott ended up realizing these 4 symbiotes weren't actually all that evil, and that the experiments that were being done on them were actually causing them a great deal of pain. So, he decided to free them, and he got fired for it. They eventually bonded with him, and because of that, Scott actually regained the ability to walk. You see, years earlier there was a shooting that killed his brother and left him paralyzed. He wanted to go after the people that caused this and kill them, but get this, the symbiotes actually told him not to do it. They didn't actually want to kill anyone. So they ended up finding the people responsible and handing them over to the authorities. You see, not all symbiotes are bad. Also, since there were 4 different symbiotes merged into one, Scott had to deal with 4 different personalities. Man, that would be an experience. Hearing all those voices in your head, probably make you go a bit crazy. Number 4, All Black the Necrosard. Alright, so this one isn't technically an old symbiote, but it is the oldest symbiote. You get it? You know what I mean? Okay, what I mean by that is, even though it was introduced in Thor God of Thunder #2 in 2013, it was revealed that it is technically the oldest symbiote ever created. It was primarily used by Gore the God Butcher. It was so powerful that it could kill gods and celestial beings, and every time it did kill them, it took their blood and got even stronger. It instantly became a fan favorite, and because of it, we got one of the most popular Thor stories ever written. And, fun fact, it has also been used by Galactus to destroy worlds. I mean, the thing is insanely powerful.
Number 3, Shuma. Shuma is one of the great old ones and many angled ones, basically a Marvel version of an elder god. Like Dormammu, he is also known as being one of the Lords of Chaos. Although it's been unclear throughout the comic lore to tell if there are truly multiple Lords of Chaos or just one Lord who keeps being renamed throughout, this many angled one is known for being one of the oldest entities in the Marvel Universe. He has returned to Earth many times and set up as a god there, being worshipped even on Earth before the sinking of Atlantis, where he demanded blood sacrifices. Sounds familiar. Sounds like someone else we heard of earlier. Are they the same person? Maybe. I don't know. Number 2, the Brood. These aliens are insectoid beings who reproduce through finding hosts on other planets whom they can implant with their offspring. Great, right? Do we love that? Yeah, basically, you get the picture. It's kind of like Alien, except instead of something bursting out of you, it hatches and then completely takes you over, inside and out. Basically possessing your mind and your body, and then just killing you in the process, so you're really no longer there. The Brood don't just do this to survive though, they actually enjoy the terror and horror that they cause among other species. They enjoy hurting and frightening others. It doesn't bother them, and to them, it's even pleasant or amusing. Yeah, so scary. Number 1, Cancerverse. While the Cancerverse is an alternate Marvel universe, much of what we see of it involves a cosmic presence. Most of the important goings-ons in regards to stories involving it happen in outer space. The Cancerverse is a world where there is no death. Sounds nice, right? Think again. Without death to provide balance to the world, life was left without anything to hold it back, and as a result became a wild and evil thing, transforming into something like an eldritch god or a monster. This all came to pass because the original Captain Marvel made a deal with the Many Angled Ones in exchange for them curing him of his cancer. The Many Angled Ones themselves is also pretty horrific. So. Number 10, Chameleon. Chameleon made his first appearance in the very first issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. Although there are a lot of other famous supervillains that people think of when it comes to Peter Parker's gallery of famous and capable rogues, Chameleon was the first that Spider-Man would come up against. In this very first issue, Spider-Man attempted to join the Fantastic Four, who basically fight him due to the fact that they think he's some kind of villain for breaking into the Baxter building. Of course, Spider-Man was only attempting to do so to impress them so they would invite him to join their team. When they refused to accept him into the team, Spider-Man set on his own to fight crime, and Chameleon disguised himself as Spider-Man to protect his own identity while committing crimes himself, ruining Spidey's reputation and ensuing Peter to go up against Chameleon to put a stop to him. Number 9, Dr. Von Doom and his Doombots. Sounds like a cool band. Dr. Von Doom and his Doombots. We were first introduced to Dr. Doom as a supervillain in issue 5 of the first volume of the Fantastic Four. In his introductory issue, the famous and brilliant villain used his brains and gadgets to capture the Fantastic Four. He wanted them to help him capture Blackbeard's treasure by using a time travel machine that he had constructed to send them into the past. In the end, they tricked him with a chest full of chains, and the thing smashed Dr. Doom to bits, only to find out that the Doom that they were dealing with was actually a robotic copy. The actual Doom also ended up getting defeated as well, and the Fantastic Four got away. But this certainly wouldn't be the last that they would see of Doom, who would become their most iconic foe. Number 8, Miracle Man. What's up with all these original Fantastic Four rogues who kidnapped Invisible Woman, by the way, or Invisible Girl as she was known then. Apparently, kidnapping Sue was a classic villain move back in the day. Miracle Man was originally a stage magician who claimed that he was even more powerful than the Fantastic Four, who just so happened to be in his audience when he was performing. After that, he proved this in his stage show. He decided that he should probably become a criminal. He was so talented and smart and obviously, I guess, selfish and villainous somewhat, if he decided to go that route as opposed to the heroic one, that he made the Fantastic Four think that a promotional statue for a film called The Monster of Mars had come to life. While the Fantastic Four were distracted dealing with that whole scenario, he pulled off a series of robberies. But don't worry, he was defeated. After, of course, he kidnapped the Invisible Girl. Like I said, that's a thing that people like to do back in the day. Number 7. Skrulls. That's right, Skrulls are some of the oldest villains around. Did you know that? I know, it's pretty surprising. Although they aren't exactly considered clean-cut villains anymore. They have even teamed up with Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers, before to help save the universe. Originally, however, the Skrulls appeared in Fantastic Four Volume 1, Issue 2, and were hell-bent on invading Earth. This was right after the FF team had been introduced, which was basically all that issue 1 was about, an origin story. The Skrulls knew that the FF were the main protectors of Earth, despite the fact that they'd sort of just started their superhero career, which is kinda weird. Anyways, they decided to impersonate the FF, commit a bunch of villainous deeds while impersonating them in order to frame them and have Earth's military capture and kill the Fantastic Four team, so that the Skrulls might then invade Earth with no one powerful enough to put a stop to them. Of course, this plan was foiled when the FF trapped the imposters, unmasked them as Skrulls, and ended up posing as those Skrulls to tell the Skrull leader that Earth's defenses were too powerful for the invasion to succeed, thus scaring them off. Basically, they defeated an entire Skrull invasion in that comic, so that's pretty impressive. The Skrulls that originally posed as the Fantastic Four members were forced to stay behind after the invasion left, because obviously the Fantastic Four was not going to let them go back up onto that ship. So they then decided to take the form of cows and continue to live on Earth in apparent peace. Peaceful cows. Apparently they'd rather be anything but Skrulls, so they said in the comic, which I thought, oh, it's kind of like rude. I'm sure there are Skrulls that really like being Skrulls. Ugh. Number 7. God Quarry. In 2016's Thanos series, there's a place known as the God Quarry. It is a pit guarded by 3 eternal witches, known as the Coven. The pit is said to reward those who can overcome its challenges by granting them with great power. But first, you must face whatever it is that could potentially be holding you back. Once in the pit, you find yourself merged within it, becoming a part of it, and then you begin to see what it is that could most tempt you. For me, it would probably be a big pile of cookies. For many leaders who have come there seeking power, the temptation was too great and they could not escape. Instead, now a part of the pit, they remain trapped for eternity. But hey, with great risk comes great reward. And yeah, Thanos did have to go in that pit. And what happens? You're gonna have to read the series. I don't want to spoil it. Number 6. The Universal Church of Truth. Almost a misnomer, the Universal Church of Truth is not as innocent as it sounds. It is made up of believers from planets throughout the universe who worship the evil being known as Magus. The church invades planets, and if the planet's inhabitants refuse to accept and adopt their faith, they will burn it to the ground, killing anyone who refuses to join them. They're basically like a really insane cult that invades, converts, and conquers planets. So yeah, they sound better than they are. Number 5. Phalanx. I'm not actually sure what is more scary, the Phalanx or the race they're believed to come from, the Technarchy. The Phalanx's main goal is to eventually conquer and assimilate, so to speak, the entire universe. Now, how do they do this? As a technological race, they use a virus known as the techno-organic virus to infect the planets they come across and eventually use it to devour all organic life there and consume all information on the planet. This virus is the same as the one that Cable is infected with, or well, it's similar. He is sort of a variation or an evolution of the virus that they use, but they're both techno-organic viruses. just not like completely identical. Number 4, Dormammu. An evil cosmic being, Dormammu is one of the most powerful foes in the Marvel Universe. Up until Thanos truly revealed himself, and maybe even after Thanos came to full Infinity Gauntlet power really, Dormammu was the most powerful foe that we'd seen in the MCU. And odds are good he'll return at some point given how powerful he is in the Marvelverse in regards to the comics. He's attempted to depose the Celestials and at one point even tried to take on Eternity. Even if he didn't fare so well, just the idea of taking on Eternity is a big, scary deal. Eternity basically embodies the entirety of Earth 616 and is only surpassed in terms of authority by the Living Tribunal. So yeah, pretty serious business if you're taking on Eternity. That entity, I wouldn't want to mess with it. Number 3, Dr. Death. While his New 52 appearance is terrifying, Dr. Death actually first appeared in Detective Comics Volume 1, issue number 29, and looked just like your average mad scientist guy. He was one of the first supervillains that Batman ever encountered and is often known as a producer of biological weapons. You know, evil mad science stuff. Like most of Batman's supervillains, he isn't superpowered himself. His first appearance saw him being apprehended by Batman only to go down in a blaze of flames, though at least Batman tried to stop him from going down in a blaze of glory by tossing a fire extinguisher at him. So helpful, Batman, thanks for that. Needless to say, this wouldn't be the end of Dr. Death and we would definitely see him again. Now he's got that crazy bone serum that just makes bones grow everywhere. Used it himself, so he's got these crazy teeth. You should show them the picture. Number 2, Ultra Humanite. One of Superman's first foes before Lex Luthor even. I know, it's crazy. If you haven't noticed yet, comics both seemed to act as a celebration for science while also having an obsession for its less honorable uses via mad science, as we like to call it. That's its own category of science for you science nerds out there. Just kidding. I know mad science isn't an actual category, but it should be. Apparently old school views were that science is awesome but can also be super dangerous, which, I mean, true. Ultra Humanite's brand of mad science came in the form of body swapping. A brilliant mind trapped in a frail, old, crippled body, Geralt dreamed of setting himself free of his decrepit and failing body and conquering the world. Just normal dreams, you know how it is. Becoming Ultra Humanite, he is known for inhabiting various female bodies in the DC universe, including Tara's for a time. Kinda weird. And for inhabiting the body of an albino ape. Those are his things. He's into apes and swapping bodies with ladies. It's normal. It's fine. Number 1, Namor. The Submariner appeared even before Marvel was called Marvel. Well, now he is definitely more anti-hero and he never really has been a bad guy when it comes to him as a character. He's definitely also a bit of a jerk with a dark side, even when he's acting heroically, which, not going to lie, is part of the reason that I think we all love him so much. He's just so complex. He can be anything he wants or anything he needs to be. A villain, a hero, an anti-hero. However, when he was first introduced in the Fantastic Four comics in issue number 4 of volume 1 in the early 60s, way after his initial introduction in April of 1939, I know, it was as a villain to the Fantastic Four. After remembering his life as Prince of the Sea, Namor returns to his lost home of Atlantis only to find that it had been destroyed by the radioactive pollution of atomic tests. He seeks vengeance and the Fantastic Four must stop him as he aims to attack the land, destroying the city and causing harm to the land dwellers who he deems responsible for the destruction of his home. Which was very villainous at the time, but I feel like now a lot of us are cool with this because we're like, hey, you know, the ocean's real polluted, so like, yeah, fair enough. Also, they really did that. They really used to set off atomic bomb tests underwater. That's a thing that we did. Shame on us.